Hello everyone, welcome to today's webinar. Hopefully you can all see my screen now. So today we're going to be talking about world-class social customer service. It's a quick webinar, just 30 minutes. I'm not going to be talking too much about licenses, Salesforce, but if I was to, please don't make any purchase decisions based on forward-looking statements, only buy based on what's available today. We've got some upcoming webinars. We're running these every single week until the end of the year, even going into next year. So please visit our YouTube channel and subscribe there, and you'll always be updated with all of our latest webinars. They're all available thereafter. Otherwise, you can go to our website, afdigital.com/events. Next week, we've got Why Choose Marketing Cloud. The week after, Social Customer Service Demo with Salesforce, and so on and so forth. You know, even things like how to calculate ROI from social. We've got a webinar on the future. Great. All right. So today we're just going to really quickly, I'll introduce myself. We'll go through top 10 pro tips, and then how to operationalize and have some time for Q&A. Please do follow me on Instagram and Twitter, Robin_AFD. Great, so just a quick background about myself. I'm the co-founder and CEO of AF Digital. My background's really in customer service. I came from a telco background as a customer service agent, then became a business analyst, did a lot of CRM work and business intelligence work in my professional past. My final job before starting the business was IBM Agile Project Manager. I'm passionately geeky. I love technology. I love marketing. The two of them are just beautiful together. We founded the company AF Digital in 2011, and we actually started partnering with Salesforce 2012, starting originally with Radian6, which was a social listening tool. And for the last 6 years, we've been helping large companies adopt social at scale. So some typical challenges we see are people that buy technology, but they're not getting ROI from their licenses. Sometimes they find it really hard to find skilled people to actually implement and manage. And it's sometimes more difficult to adopt than expected. A lot of people just buy the software and, you know, don't turn it on properly. So we're really here to help. We're a Salesforce Gold consulting partner. We do agile transformation, technology consulting, and we also provide marketing operations as well. So it's really like plan, implement, and operate. So you can see some of our existing customers here. You know, we've got a lot of household brands. We've been working in the enterprise space for a long time. We've got offices in Singapore, Philippines, and Australia. Did we mention we're also a full-service digital agency? So that's actually in our DNA. We started off as an agency. So we do email, social content, reporting, marketing automation, and one-to-one advertising. Great. Okay, so let's just get started. So why is social customer service so important? And these are some stats that I really love. So and there's a lot of different versions of the stat, but it's 6 to 7 times more costly to attract a new customer than it is to retain an existing one. I think we all know. I think typically people say 4 times, but we all know it's way easier. When companies engage and respond to customer service requests over social media, those customers end up spending 20 to 40% more money with the company. So it's really like it actually increases loyalty, it increases average lifetime value. A 1% improvement in first call response is equal to about $276,000 in operational savings for an average sized call center, you know, with 100+ staff. So you just need a tiny little improvement, and with social customer service, you can obviously get that. We'll talk about that. 50% of consumers actually prefer using social to reach their service provider, and this is increasing. You know, I don't know anyone that went to social, had a good experience, and then was like, nah, I hate using social for customer service, I'd rather call. That doesn't happen, right? I'd much rather send a tweet and then walk away and get a response. And in that sense, 57% expect the same response time at night and on weekends as during normal business hours. So, you know, this is really where you can't just turn it on for a bit of the time if you're a large company. If you're running a serious 24/7 customer operation anyway, social should just be a ubiquitous channel within that. And this is really interesting. This came out of a recent report from Salesforce. customers are more than 70% likely to switch if they have an inconsistent service experience. So, you know, across a different channel or across a different part, you know, a use case within your business, sales, service, marketing, if they are not happy with that, then they're really going to attrit. You know, and this is huge. So it's really important that brands consider all of their customer touch points with the same level of quality as, say, voice customer service. And social, it's really revolutionizing business. I know I probably don't need to convince you of this, but social does touch the entire organization. It's literally like a telephone, you know, so everyone in your company uses a telephone. Social is just the same, it's just a rich version of a telephone. So it touches marketing, obviously, service, sales, technology. Now you have to have technology to support the social networks. So you need your technology teams to own that. There's a risk perspective with, you know, especially with crisis and social listening for complaints. HR, you've got to monitor your staff and make sure they're not inappropriately using it or saying bad things about your company. Insights, you know, you already have a BI team probably, so you know, are they using social data or not? And of course your C-suite as well, who also play a really, really important role in social. You know, obviously they've got to be across it from a PR crisis perspective, but they've also got to drive transformation internally, get people to care about it, and really put governance in place to make sure that it's run properly. So let's talk quickly about ROI. And this is actually some Salesforce numbers. But what they've done with a lot of research is they estimated the average cost per call of a voice call is $15. That's like all of the costs that go towards that call, $15. For an email, $10. So it's a bit cheaper to handle email. And then for social, $5 per social case. So it's actually a lot cheaper to service customers on social than through voice. And customers like it. So social agents are able to handle 4 to 8 times more issues per hour than phone agents. You know, they don't have to put customers on hold. They can handle multiple queries, and they can copy and paste a link. You know, so if there's something that's repetitive and there's an FAQ page on your website, you can just share the link and direct them to a self-service channel. It's also preemptive. Often people won't call you until it's really bad, so you can actually reduce call volumes by proactively engaging with them. So, you know, obviously if it's $15 per call, obviously every company's a little bit different in how much that costs, but if I can reduce calls, you know, from 1,000 to 700, you know, there's 300 times $15 savings there. I can't do the math, but you get the picture. So social customer service costs 1/6 of phone interactions and 1/3 to 1/5 the cost of the email interactions. So let's talk about social response times. I get asked this all the time. How quickly should I respond? And this is actually some stats. So you can see here that, and this is what customers expect. So 14% of customers expect an immediate response on social, 19% expect 5 to 30 minutes, and then 20% 30 minutes to 1 hour, 12% 1 to less than 2 hours. So you can actually see that 53% of people expect a response within 1 hour. You know, and out of those, like, oh God, 33% expect within 30 minutes. So that's really important to take into consideration as your response time. And it's not just the first response time, it's your average response time. So whenever they tweet you as part of a conversation, you really need to be responsive. What KLM do, which is really great, is on their Twitter page, they actually have their average response time that's updated live every 5 minutes. And that's really great because it just gives customers an expectation on when you're going to reply to them. So one thing that we strongly recommend is a social media playbook. And a lot of people say, what is a social media playbook? What does it actually include? If you think about your voice agents, they all follow some kind of script or some kind of process, and they have processes to support their requirements. So a customer will call in with a billing issue, and they'll have a process to follow for the billing issue to handle that. A social media playbook is no different. It's just an instruction manual or a procedure for operating those social channels clearly. So, and generally we would put these kind of things in a playbook. Bit of background, what are your objectives, maybe a glossary, maybe some pain points, quick links, contact details for your team, roles and responsibilities, objectives, metrics, KPIs, listening and monitoring process, because it doesn't happen automatically. You have to have a process that people follow to do this stuff. Case management and assignment. So what happens when there is a complaint? How do I manage that complaint as a case, and how do I assign it? Social customer service shift schedule, so you know who's got to be on the phone, working Twitter and Facebook. Response management slash FAQs. So this is really like, how do I respond to each type of query? It's same with voice. You have exactly the same stuff. Workflow and escalations, voice, tone, and persona, crisis management process, reporting schedule, quality assurance training. So it's really everything that your company needs to do repetitively and well on social. You can't hire a person and expect them to run your social channels like you want them to be run. So this is just a 101 as part of the governance of having social media in your company. Everyone needs a playbook, or whatever you call it, a knowledge base. And actually running a social contact center, so unless you're a small business and you can support the volume of inquiries with one person, usually larger companies will really need to have 2 or 3 people as a minimum running their social accounts, and especially if you want to do it 7 days a week. So I mean, you actually follow the exact same model that you would with voice. So for a voice contact center manager, this is a no-brainer. If I want to provide 24/7 support, I really need a team of 7 or 8 people to run all of those shifts. So this is another thing that I really encourage brands to do, is to engage proactively. And this in this example slide, we've got a general customer journey. This client is actually Tripadeal. It's not a real client. This was just an example. But Tripadeal sell package trips. They're kind of like an online package booking agency. So I can book a trip to I don't know, Afghanistan, and it would be all-inclusive for, say, $2,000. So anyway, we looked at the journey for a typical traveler. So they start with a dream. I really want to go back to NZ for a holiday. Then they start planning. Then they make a booking. Then they prepare for their trip. They'll depart. They'll explore. They'll actually have their trip. Then they may return, and then they reminisce. So that's a typical journey for a traveler. So what we recommend is, when they tweet, really want to go back to NZ for a holiday, Tripadeal would then come in hypothetically and say, NZ is aces, right? Where have you spent most of your time there? Check this trip plan out. So it's actually a sales opportunity there. And then during the planning, you just engage with them. When they're booking, you engage with them again. If they had a complaint about you, and it wasn't directed at your page, which often happens. Often I'll go into Twitter and I'll complain about a certain, I don't know, product like my Microsoft PowerPoint crashing or something like that. And it's really important and impactful for that brand to reach out to me proactively and say, hey, I'm sorry to hear you had a problem. Even though I wasn't directing it at them, they actually prevented a call into the contact center later, or me churning from their product. So let's talk about crisis really quickly. And a lot of people think that a crisis starts on social media. So a social media crisis is where someone tweets something badly, or something really wrong goes on with your social. It's not actually the case. 99% of social media crises, they actually happen offline, and social media is just a channel where people talk about it. So it's not necessarily key to to manage social crisis and prevent social crisis, but it's a really good idea to look at how you're using social during a crisis. And this example, Tony Fernandez with AirAsia, when they lost the plane, sadly, You know, he really demonstrated best practice here. He stood up, he apologized, he was empathetic, he was very responsive. And the whole world loved him for that. Even though they lost the plane, they loved him. So, you know, this is a really good example of someone that handled a crisis well. On this side, this is actually a power company that we worked with in the Philippines. We did a lot of crisis management work with them for social. And so when we look at on the bottom is their kind of normal, there's no crisis happening. So, you know, they have the volume that justifies, it's really 1 FTE to support their social. So we assume that they could do, say, 70 or 80 inbound messages per day. But then there was a spike that happened in the afternoon, and so they really, to handle that spike, they really need 2 FTEs, but in reality, 1 can just kind of handle it. When we looked at Typhoon Yolanda, if you haven't heard about that, it was one of the biggest typhoons that ever hit the Philippines, and it had a huge impact on social. So you could see here, and this is, I think, 2 days worth of data, we had a spike. And, you know, where they had 2 FTEs, it well exceeded that. So they actually needed 20 FTEs to kind of handle the average, but then really 28 if they want to be responsive during the spike. And so this was a really interesting learning because, you know, very similar to like an on-call fire department, you know, like a volunteer firefighter, you really need to have volunteer social media people that can jump on in times of a crisis. You know, so what we would recommend is actually having a training and certification program and crisis drills that happen once a quarter so that everyone's ready. As soon as it happens, everyone jumps into a command center space and they know what to do. They have the software set up, everything's ready to go. So just to reiterate that, it's not really about preventing a crisis from happening on social. It's really more about managing crises using social as a channel. And there's a lot of different strategies you can use. A really great method is just proactive updates on the crisis. You know, just sharing that out. It prevents calls into the contact center to ask repetitive questions. And it also shows that you care as well, you know, which a lot of people, they just want to know that you're looking at it. So tracking social inquiries. So this is a really interesting one. A lot of companies use Facebook and Twitter natively. Which is fine, but if you start dealing with a lot of like cases or sales leads that come through that channel, we always find that the agency or the social media person, they get overwhelmed by work. You know, they're not doing marketing, they're not creating campaigns, they're actually just handling complaints and being the middleman, emailing internally to the services team who will be helping them resolve it. You know, this is a total distraction for salespeople. I mean, sorry, for marketers. We really want them to focus on having fun, sending out great messages, and whenever there's a complaint or a sales opportunity, we want that to go to the sales team or the service team. So, you know, what we recommend is having CRM with some kind of case management or ticket management that's integrated with social is really crucial in your ability to scale. If you don't, and say if you have a crisis like Yolanda, it's going to be really hard for you to have 30 people sitting there on Twitter natively using it in tandem. You know, it doesn't work. You lose control. So it's really important to have a system, a CRM system with case management that's integrated with social, where the service team using the case management tool, they can actually handle the inquiry through the social channel from CRM. So they could technically reply back to the customer and take the conversation away from the marketer's hands. And Salesforce, obviously, they provide a really great solution for this. I think in 2 weeks, I've got a social customer service demo. I'll show you how that works. So let's talk about metrics. And it's a new world. Social is a bit different to voice. Obviously, like your typical metrics for voice are average handling time, average response time. You can still kind of track those, but it's a little bit different. So your average handling time is more about the entire case duration, because I don't know if an agent is 100% working on the one case or if they've got multiple in parallel, and usually they'll have multiple in parallel. And there's also a lot of waiting time in between messages. So if you look at this workflow, you've got, you know, the first tweet or Facebook message, inquire. We create a case. and then there's a bit of wait time as it goes in the queue, and then the agent picks it up, and the agent works on it, and then the agent will reply. So we've actually got a first response time. We've also got a queue wait time as well, because obviously we need to make sure that the agents are picking up those cases quickly. And so they send the message back. So, it'd be like, I need help with my bill. Then there's a wait time, a queue wait time, a first response wait time. Then we reply and say, oh, okay, can you please private message us your account number? And then you've got another wait time. And then they'll send their details. You'll update the case. And then there's another wait time for the agent to see it again, and then they respond. So I won't go through it in too much detail, but you can see there's a lot of different wait times in there. So this average response time, actually, it's really important, because obviously customers expect within an hour, as we said before. So it's really important to manage these, and especially if you have a large organization with 30 people doing this, or 100 people, if you're a huge telco. This really is important to manage. And you cannot do this with a simple social media solution or natively. Like, it's impossible to measure these kind of things. You really need a robust case management system that does all of this stuff natively. Cool. So that is pretty much it. Do I have any questions? Please go ahead, and if you just want to ask them into the questions area of GoToWebinar. Great. Okay, looks like we don't have any questions. So that's a wrap. Please do go into the YouTube. A recording of this video will be available there probably in the next 2 days. And as I said, we're going to be running a lot of these webinars. So the next one, next Thursday, Why Choose Marketing Cloud, and we'll actually do a bit of a demo. And then the week after is actually a social customer service demo. So we'll be demonstrating Salesforce, Service Cloud, and Social Studio. So that will actually show you that interaction and how to manage those response times, all of the technical, beautiful stuff. Great. Okay. Well, without further ado, I'll close this call. Thanks everyone for attending.